Who is ready to make some science?
Hey everybody, it's me, DeoGenZ, coming at you with my Pokemon Stars predictions, where I showcase some new Alola forms, Mega Evolutions, and alternate evolutions that could be coming in the Nintendo Switch Pokemon Stars game. But before we do, I want to see what you all thought in some previous episodes, talking about an Alolan Slacking. Yep, I could see that being perfect. The lazy Pokemon Slacking that we haven't really seen any variation on since the 3rd gen could be just laying out, lazing about on the Executor Island, just sleeping under one. And then we get this comment here, which brings up an interesting proposition of updates and what they can actually do for the game. So often the updates by Nintendo are just to block hackers, which is good and important to do, but it'd be interesting if they updated the Sun and Moon games to have new forms for compatibility with Stars. But let's talk about Pokemon Stars' new forms with this Breloom, which could be switched from its grass fighting to a fighting electric type. And I think this is just an awesome looking thing. Give it a Volt Absorb, have some more switchability with it instead of needing Technician on there. You could always have Technician as a hidden ability since it gives more power to Breloom. However, Volt Absorb would give you a free switch in and you'd be no longer weak to fire types either. So I think it could be a really cool thing to see in perhaps the Pawnee Canyon, because there was some special electrical attributes to that area. After all, that's where you need to take your Magnezone and your Probopass, or your pre-evolutions of those guys at least, if you want to get them fully evolved. So I don't know if they would actually update the previous Sun and Moon games to say put these in, but I definitely could see more of a Pokemon Bank situation emerging where you can transfer in your old Sun and Moon forms into Stars. So on the thought that there are definitely going to be some Stars exclusive Pokemon, after all, how are they going to bait these old Pokemon veterans into playing the 3rd version of Sun and Moon? Let's talk about a Mega Evolution of Spiritomb. Now this thing is a beast, and I think it would be well equipped to have a Magic Bounce. This way that, when you see Spiritomb on the field, it's going to mean business in a new way. I haven't really seen Spiritomb, what with Klefki and a bunch of other utility Pokemon in metagame now, kind of replacing what it used to do. I think when it comes to Pokemon lore, it would be really interesting if that stone from which the spiritly, ghastly form of Spiritomb is emanating from was actually a spirit of like a ground golem, so when it mega evolves it turns into a ground ghost, similar to Golurk. So let me know what you think about that Mega Evolution, and maybe Pokemon Stars might introduce some new evolution chains. If you consider that there hasn't been an evolution in a while, we could see a new one of those. But Eevee's not the only one that can have alternate evolutions. No, I want to actually go on to a new evolution chain for Barboach and make it a water-fire kind of catfish where it's a lot more aggressive, has higher attack, higher speed than, say, a Whiscash, but I think it could really fit into having a fire-water catfish typing. It'd be interesting if there was a fire-water type that wasn't only Volcanion. And a factor that could keep this Pokemon interesting in metagame is the inclusion of both abilities Flash Fire and Water Absorb. This way, when you're facing it, you never know what its ability is going to be. It could be one of the two, you've got a 50-50 shot, but either way, you're going to have a lot of prediction to do if you ever see this form in competitive play. And that's what's fun for me thinking about Pokemon Stars, is really the new kind of competitive levers and advantages you're going to have with the updates that they bring. I mean, who could have expected they would take Levitate away from Gengar? Now, if there's one thing I really would have liked to see more of from the Alola region forms, is some specialized water Pokemon. I mean, we're talking about islands here, so everything in between is water. That's a huge environment for Pokemon to adapt and evolve for, traveling between the islands. And a new Alolan form to a familiar evolution we already know is Floatzel. Following the trend of Persian and Muck, it can gain a dual type of Dark along with its already water typing, which will benefit its travel between islands. Perhaps its tail could be split into multiple tails for a rotor, and it could gain the ability Moxie to have a little bit more oomph in competitive play. Now, I think this character design is really cool looking, and I would like to see a dark Floatzel. You know, I really would like to see a dark version of a lot of Pokemon, let's be honest. I'm sure you would too. I'm certain I'm not the only one who wanted to somehow transfer their Dark Lugia back in Gale of Darkness, but hey, I'm getting off topic with some past games. Let's stay current and looking towards the future with Pokemon Stars and our last Alolan form with Girafarig. So to completely shift this Pokemon around, we could change its typing from Psychic to Fairy Electric, and perhaps it has some special abilities that allow it to deal with electric moves better than any other poke, with Lightning Rod and Volt Absorb. Been having a lot of elemental absorption abilities on this episode, I've noticed, but hey, they're some of the most fun to have in competitive play when you switch out on your opponent. But, you know, in the Pokedex entry, I could really imagine this Pokemon being described that its tail laughs every time that it gets shocked by electricity, just taunting its opponents. It gets tickled by the electricity, in fact. So I can already start to see in my mind the lore that could play around some of these Pokemon, Mega Evolutions, Alola forms, but hey, I want to know what you think, so comment below on what you think is going to happen in the new Nintendo Switch Pokemon Stars game. Are we going to see a new region? Are we going to see new Mega forms? Are we going to see new Alola forms? I'm curious what you think. So I've been DeoGenZ, reminding you that, hey, if you want to see more of this awesome artwork, go on to Locomotive 111's DeviantArt. Link is in the description, and you can check that out for yourselves. They are working on some great stuff and are really the fuel behind these episodes, so I thank them especially. So I'll see you in future prediction videos.